My name's Cas Lush. I'm with Justin Masson. That's how you say it, right? Masson?
Yeah, a lot of people say Mason, but it's actually two S's, so it's pronounced Masson. So yeah,
Masson.
you're absolutely right.
Cool. I probably heard it on the podcast. That's why I know. I don't know.
That could be.
Could be why. He is with NintendoDads, the podcast that is every Wednesday. And he's going to be interviewing with us. And this is for NintendoNuggets.com. So I kind of already gave you the rundown. You're with NintendoDads. How did all of you guys meet? Your two other counterparts. It's Jesse Waback.
Jesse Waldack. Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
That's okay. Jesse Waldack and Zach Erickson.
Zach Erickson.
So it's actually kind of a really weird kind of like bromance creepy story is the best way I can call it. So Zach and I kind of found each other in this weird way that the internet does to you. So him and I found out, for example, that he was tweeting about a show, The Morning Stream, with Scott Johnson. And so I engaged him in a Twitter conversation. He's like, hey, I live in Lethbridge. And I was like, oh, man, so do I. That's really cool. Like, we apparently both live in the same area and we listen to the same show. That's quite cool.
And that's in Canada.
That's in Canada, yeah. Southern Alberta, just above Montana, about an hour north. And so we started having this conversation, and we followed each other on Twitter and had some DMs back and forth. And we really quickly kind of realized that there's a lot of things that we share in common. You know, we're about the same age, have kids, like video games, like pop culture. So it kind of became this weird, like, back and forth conversation in DM. And my wife kind of jokes about it. She's like, so, how's your bromance going? You know, like she was kind of bugging me about it. And it seems kind of weird. So finally I said to him, I said, like, hey, Zach, we seem to have this conversation. Let's just meet one day. So you want to go like Tim Hortons, which is, you know, the big Canadian coffee place here in Canada. So we went for coffee, met with him, and very quickly we just kind of like had a really good relationship, good conversations. And we really quickly drilled down that there was a lot of things that we shared in common. Not only, parenting and our age and our location, but more into like, you know, video games and kind of beliefs and what we value. And from that, we kind of started saying, and we both had some experience in podcasting, but Zach had a little bit more than me. I'd always wanted to get into it. We were both large podcast consumers. We were both big consumers of video games. So we said, well, do you want to do this thing? Let's just try it. We'll do a podcast. Like, what do we want to talk about? And so after some conversations, we said, well, Nintendo appears to be a big thing that we're both focused on. Same with parenting. So let's combine this thing together and create the NintendoDads podcast. And we said, okay, it's great. Let's do that. From there, Zach said, well, you know, a two-man show is great, but a three-man show is better because it's kind of like when you go to the gym, right? If it's just me going to the gym, I can show up whenever I want, probably not going to be consistent. Mm-hmm. You got another partner there, yeah, they'll maybe push you, but three people there, you know, everyone's going to be collective. So it kind of creates like a strength in numbers way of maintaining our podcast. The other nice part about that is when there's three, if one of you is sick, the two of you can still do the show. Right, so it almost became like this dad countermeasure, right? Like, greatness in numbers. So then from there, he said, you know, I know a guy named Jesse Waldack. I have some experience with him. He's a dad. He likes video games, and he's a little bit different than us. He's a little bit of an older dad. He'll have a different lens and perspective. What do you think about bringing him on? And I said, you know, I don't really know him, but I trust you, so let's just do that. So, you know, lo and behold, I think our first recording session was, in October of 2014. And I remember getting a phone call, and, you know, Zach was on their Skype, I was on Skype, and then it's like, hi, this is Jesse. Hey, how's it going? And that was kind of it. Like, that was kind of the start of it in this kind of very weird way that the internet brings you together. You know, interestingly enough, like, I've never met Jesse face to face ever, right? And this window that I have with Zach is kind of funny because Zach recently moved away from Lethbridge about 4 or 5 months ago to study up in Edmonton. So his and my physical, like, knowing each other window was about probably 9 months in total before he left. So a lot of our relationship, a lot of the beginning of NintendoDads and really from its infancy onward is very digital based, right? Like, it's very heavily relied on Skype calls weekly or iMessage chats that we have continually going on. So, you know, it's a bit of a weird way that we formed, but it's very cool.
That is very interesting. I did not. I would have thought, because I knew Jesse lived in America. Mm-hmm. I would have guessed from the chemistry and stuff that you and Zach were just childhood friends. So.
No, yeah, and that's the funny thing is, and it is kind of funny because Zach and I, like, if you actually look at us like in pictures, we actually look a little bit alike. We're probably about the same height, white, kind of same crew cut, glasses, probably same close to weight, same kids. Like it all looks very like you probably could have grown up together. The interesting thing about Zach, at least my experience with him, is it very much feels like that friendship. Like I probably could have went to school with him, but I didn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've only known each other for a year, and it's really kind of unfortunate that he moved up to Edmonton. I mean, it's only about 6 hours away from here, but it's one of those things of like, I would have liked to have more of this in-person relationship because he's a really good guy. But yeah, that's one of the nice parts I like about Zach and my relationship and our chemistry as well.
Cool. It's crazy what Twitter and social media can do for the good, for meeting people for work stuff or making connections. It's just it's crazy.
Well, I mean, I think it's a great example of even this conversation, right? Like 6 months ago, we didn't know who you are, and we've had a consistent conversation for about 6 months on working together in different projects. I look at Dave from Dave Space. I just got during this phone call, I saw a tweet come up from him directly about something. Marty from the Reactor Radio, and then even like all of our guests that we've brought on for Nintendo Dads, we don't have any personal connection to them pretty much, other than being like on Twitter and being like, hey. Yeah. I like what you do. You want to come join us on the internet for an hour and talk about video games?
So that's what
sure.
I was actually going to ask you something about that.
Go ahead.
Y'all have 55 episodes so far, I believe,
yeah.
Right? Is what I saw. And I know I've been listening for a while, and not too long, probably like a half a year maybe, or maybe about a year. And just from when I started to now, I can kind of tell. It seems like the show's gotten better. Your fan base has grown just from following out. It seems like there's more people listening and watching. One of the things I noticed, I think y'all got this person before I started listening, but I went back and listened to it. It was one of the first, when I first started listening to you guys, I went back and listened to a couple shows, and it was one of the first ones. You had Pierre Schneider from IGN. How did you guys? That's what I wanted to ask. How did you guys get him? Because I listened to the NVC podcast, and I've known about him for a long time. He's probably the biggest person y'all have had on. I might be wrong. I haven't listened to all the shows, but so yeah, how'd y'all get him?
Yeah, Per Schneider was
that's it.
Per. It was an incredible guest to have on. He is the general manager of IGN, one of the founders of IGN, and he is one of the 3 voices on the Nintendo voice chat. So how we got Per was very interesting, and I think kind of sometimes with the internet being the way it is, you just kind of have to take risks, right? And I think Twitter is such a great direct messaging functionality that one day I sent him a message from our Nintendo Dads account. I do all the public relations stuff for us, and I said, "Hey, Per Schneider," or "Hey, at Per Schneider, we do a podcast about Nintendo and parenting. Would you be interested in coming on our show?" Right, and you kind of send this out into the internet and never expect something. And a couple moments later, he sends me a message like, "Hey, that sounds really cool. I would definitely be interested. Do you want to like DM me and we'll talk about it?" And I was like, "Oh, this is for real? Oh, okay." So we just jumped on, and so I kind of have to give a bit of a preface, kind of a frame of where our podcast is, and the way I can kind of frame it with our guests is saying like we are a show that focuses on Nintendo content, but also from the perspective of a parent. So the beautiful part about Per that I know is that A, he likes Nintendo content, and B, he's a parent. So when I can lean into those kind of two things, right, if I have a Venn diagram, so to say, those things overlap. So that should be a very easy kind of like subject matter expert for him to be able to speak on both Nintendo and parenting. So when we frame up those conversations, it's kind of really leaning in both those things, because I think having an expert like Per, who's been in the video game industry, who is played, whose life is basically video games, right? A lot of his income is based on video games. His career has been video games. To be able to say like, hey, we want to talk about that and how it impacts you in parenting, or what you believe the future of parenting is in that, that's a very interesting conversation that draws people up to the surface and they want to talk about it. So I think probably in 2015, that was probably, our what I would call get. I think that was probably our biggest get and our biggest guess that we really didn't expect. And the thing is, like, we don't, to your point, like, we're only 55 episodes in. We don't really have like a large globalized brand recognition yet. And you're right, our numbers are growing. We see that both in podcast followers. We see that in Twitter followers. We see that interaction. So we are getting this ball rolling, which is great. But for someone just kind of be like, yeah, I'll randomly come on your podcast that I probably have never listened to my entire life, and being such a big fan, that was huge.
Yeah.
But the beautiful part about all of our guests is, as nervous as sometimes you are as they're coming on, you realize that they're just like average people, right? There's nervousness for the first little bit, and then you kind of just calm into a regular conversation. And I think as long as you're very conscious and aware of like their value of time, right? So I'm sure you have other things to do right now, Per, and you're calling from your home to talk to us about this, right? I'm sure I don't want to waste all of your time about it. So we try and be cautious of that as well, and work as much around their schedules as possible. But yeah, Per was really, really incredible. And actually, even kind of watching, you also kind of have to find people who are very engaged with their audience. And I mean that not only on, a podcast, but also in the social media realm. Per is very involved with his audience no matter what. Like he'll respond directly to you.
He responded to me yesterday. I don't know if you saw that.
I did see that. I was going to very slightly jump in and say like, hey, who does a really good Nintendo podcast? NintendoDads.
Yeah, I was thinking, I was in my first, I didn't, you can't do as many characters. When I first wrote it up, I literally was going to say, I'm going to go and, because I was mad at them, which I wasn't really mad. I wasn't like trying to troll them or anything, but I wouldn't say mad, but I was going to say, I'm just going to go listen to Nintendo Dads because they don't bash Nintendo, but
nice.
I was like, I didn't want to get y'all, I didn't want to make y'all look bad. I was like, I'm not going to do that.
Well, I think it's funny because, so that's one of the ways we also do is we see who's really engaged with their audience, and we kind of see like, hey, who would be interested in approaching it from a Nintendo content and a dad's content. And I think that's kind of the way that we get a lot of our guests. Although I would say for the NVC thing, one of the biggest compliments we've ever received, and we've received I think once or twice, has been people have said, check out the Nintendo Dads podcast. They're like a light version of Nintendo voice chat. And I was like, that's a win. Like I'm good here. They're like 5-star rating. I was like, I'm out. That's
I agree with that.
I think those guys are fantastic. So yeah.
That's definitely the two. I listen to a lot of podcasts. The two video game podcasts I listen to is NVC and Nintendo Dads. I've listened to other ones, and I haven't found one I like. I like that y'all are older. What you said, your dads. I'm a dad. But what I wanted to ask you now about that, because this is a segue.
Sure.
What is your favorite podcast to listen to?
My favorite podcast to listen to, I go through these weird waves of podcasts to listen to. I've been consuming a lot of podcasts for probably about 6 or 7 years. So I kind of go through different waves of it. I would say ones that I regularly listen to. So right now, I mean, this isn't just popping collars for friends. Right now, my favorite one, to be very honest, is actually Reactor Radio. And I think Marty and his crew do a really great job of kind of covering the week's news. And I think the other nice part about it is they're very approachable. They're very much kind of like you and I in their approach of content. And it feels like genuinely I could sit around and have conversations with them, which we have before. Some of my other ones, so that's kind of like my favorite one right now. Some of my other ones I kind of always keep in there. I like This American Life. And I know that seems like the very stock answer, but I think the storytelling methodology that they have, 3 acts, one common theme, I always enjoy that kind of like, what are people doing? The sociology of people. That's a very interesting thing. I think my major is in theater, so it's always storytelling orientated, right? And I think it's a great story they tell. And then the other one I really enjoy is The Morning Stream with Scott Johnson, the TMS. I've listened to that. That's probably always been in my queue for 5 years. That has always been in there, and it's kind of like if I catch that in the morning, I will. But I think a lot of it's kind of funny. The morning stream show, how Zach and I met through the show, you'll kind of notice there's kind of that structure that Scott and Brian have. There are things about that we really admired. So we did a little bit of modeling about that when we created our show, and especially you hear that when it comes down to if it's just Zach and I, sometimes that banter is very kind of quick, very much like Scott and Brian, and it feels like that friendship as well. And I think that's kind of some of the show we like. And yeah, I think those are currently my favorite ones for sure.
Awesome. I'm glad you said This American Life. That's a great one. I love that.
Yeah, I wish they'd have like a version of like This Canadian Life, but I feel like it'd be very polite. Maybe I should do that. Act 3, stuck at Tim Hortons, Timbits.
Yeah.
That might be my next podcast idea right there.
Yay. That's my Canadian impression.
It's beauty.
Yeah, you guys and all that good stuff. I don't know.
Nice.
You don't
That's
talk like that. I'm sorry.
very often we do. I'm not gonna lie to you, we do. So
It's not as bad as some that I've heard, but we have way worse accents in America, so I can't even talk.
you guys are definitely melting pot for it for sure.
Any weird emails or tweets or direct message tweets or just like from a fan of the podcast, or not even maybe not weird, just odd, like, or I know y'all get emails and stuff, and I know y'all get phone calls too. You can leave voicemails. Has anything ever been weird, or like, what was that?
I think we never had a lot of weird ones. We had one for a phone, like a voice message phone call, and I mean, no one really seems to call the line. Like, you have to make a dedicated effort for people to do it. But
nobody calls anybody anymore. So
no, I know, right? So like one day I went on and did like a Christopher Walken impression, which is like, "Hello, Christopher Walken," which didn't turn out well when it recorded. But we had this one call from a gentleman, I think he was in Texas, and he was like, "Hey, I just love listening to your show while I'm at work, which is what I'm doing right now. Don't tell anybody. Bye." Like, I was like, this is like, thanks for listening. I'm glad you enjoy it. It was like the weirdest conversation ever. But yeah, we haven't had anything like kind of weird or really out there. But I would say like our fan base, both from emails, tweets, that kind of stuff, is just really active. We get tagged in about 5 to 10 tweets a day, and and that's one of the things that I really love. And I shouldn't say like one of the weirdest things, but I think one of the tweets that we got that really struck a bell with me is we had received a tweet early on. I think we'd only been doing it for about 3 months, and it was in German. And it came, and I was like, I can see our names tagged, but I don't know what's going on here. Yeah. But apparently there's a function in Twitter to translate it. So it translates it into American or English, and I'm reading. And I was like, oh, it's really cool. And this guy's like, hey, I really love your show. It's fantastic. And I was like, thanks for joining us, or thanks for listening. Another tweet comes in and goes, hey, and by the way, I just want to tell you, I just found out I'm going to be a Nintendo dad. So he basically announced to us that him and his wife were expecting. And it was such a weird kind of like moment that all of a sudden you realize that people are willing to share those things with you. These moments of like, hey, this is my life. Like, this just happened. And there's this commonality of like, I like Nintendo and I'm a dad. And these things can come together, and there's this community for you. Yeah. And it's really weird when people find that community, because people literally said, like, I just put in a Google search Nintendo and dad, and this thing comes up. And, we always kind of get fans who say to us, they're like, you guys should have been called NintendoDads. And I think there's actually more strength in us being called Nintendo and Dads, because when you think of the search part of it, it breaks it up separately. Oh, yeah. So that was really, that I think it was probably in the first 3 months, and that struck me. I was like, wow, people are sharing these things with us. And we have we have a really good friend of the show in Australia, and he sends us pictures of him, like his daughter, like hanging out playing Yoshi's Woolly World. Like, kind of, you're getting glimpses into people's lives that are this kind of really weird, kind of intimate things of like, I would have never thought we had that kind of reach or that power, that people cared to listen that way. But it's creating a community where there isn't one. But our fans are great. Like, they're always so interactive and so encouraging, and just I think a lot of, and I go on a bit of rants every once in a while, so I apologize. You're but I think every once in a while when people, I don't think sometimes people think you're genuine. You're like, oh, we do this really all because of our fans, or we enjoy our fans, and that's it. Like, really, like if it was like one person listening, that's awesome. One person seems to enjoy what we're doing. But when we see the base that's grown to what it is, it's incredible to understand that like everything that we're doing, the content that we produce, it drives you more to put more content out for your fans because they enjoy it. And the feedback that you're getting is so positive, right? Like, man, we hear people like, man, I love the fact that I can listen to your show in the car with my kids. Mm-hmm. And you're like, you know what? We had set off early when Zach and I talked about it. It's like, we want a family-friendly show. Every once in a while, we may drop a word every once in a while that we kind of joke about. But I've heard other podcasts which are I cannot play in the car with my family because of the language, right? So when you kind of hear these things that people enjoy your content, they're sharing parts of their life with you, they're sharing it with their family. Man, our fans are absolutely the greatest, and I wouldn't trade any of that for them at all. It's fantastic.
That is fantastic, and like you said, the name NintendoDads, I agree with you. Because I think when the time I was on your podcast, I told y'all,
Yep.
I don't know why. I guess if that's a lot of people are saying it, it's so weird that so many people are Googling Nintendo and Dads, because I can't remember why I did it. I was getting into the NVC podcast, the IGN's Nintendo podcast, and I just, for some reason, was like, I want a podcast about Nintendo, about dads listening, or dads playing Nintendo games. And sure enough, I Googled Nintendo Dads, and I found Nintendo Dads.
Yeah.
So you're right about that. And then I also heard you do a really good impression, and I'm a really big fan of your Marty McFly impression. So at some point during this interview, if you could, no, I'm kidding. You don't have to do that.
Sure. No, absolutely. Well, I do take very direct tweets during my recordings. I believe you sent one last week and said like, "Hey, do a Marty." I was like, "Yeah, I will. Yeah, I will."
Done. And that was the one y'all weren't doing a live one, so I was like, "Oh wait, but."
Yeah, Jesse's our like big tech guy. Yeah. So if we don't have a live stream, it's usually because Jesse's something's wrong going on with his world. But
yeah, and that's hard to do all that through Skype Okay, we're gonna go to a little bit of a fun part. We're gonna break away from the podcast questions, sure. And you are with Nintendo Dads. Before the show, we were talking. I've been playing that new Star Wars Battlefront on Xbox One. But for the most part, I only play Nintendo. I only play my Wii U. I play a lot of old systems. I like to I have games I bought on the eShop, but I like to actually play my Super Nintendo, my regular Nintendo, my Nintendo 64. So do you only play Nintendo, or do you have an Xbox? Or, like me, I have an Xbox One, but I seriously, I just like Nintendo.
Yeah, so my wife was kind of 2 Father's Days ago to buy me a PS3, which was really great. So that's in our kind of gaming consoles down here. But to be honest, and we bought it off a friend used. I got a great collection of games with it from him as well. I got like The Last of Us, Fallout 3, just some great games of that generation. And I picked up Destiny. And those are kind of like Destiny specifically is the game I've been playing with it. But to be honest, for me, when I have my time to play video games, which as a parent can be very limiting sometimes.
Yes.
I look for those opportunities of, can I play it together with the kids? So if that works, that's great. But like for my PlayStation 3, when I play Destiny, I'm looking to play with friends online. And the guys I typically play with, because we always want to play with their friends, are 2 other parents. So managing their time and my time to coordinate that is really, really tough. Yeah. So we tried like for a couple months of like, hey, like every Wednesday, instead of playing squash or going to the gym, let's go play Destiny. And we tried that for a little bit, and then life kind of got a hold of us. But primarily in our household, it's Nintendo. It really is. And I think, again, it just goes back to the family-friendly content they have. Mm-hmm. I love the fact that I can sit down with my kids and be like, you've never experienced Super Mario, like the original. Like, let's sit down and let's do this right now. This was such a huge thing in my childhood. Let's do this, right? Yeah. So I love that. I love that component of it. But primarily, I've been a pretty straight Nintendo consumer almost all of my life, except for, and this is kind of the only exception, is when I completely missed the entire GameCube on 100%. And at that point, I was playing PS1 and PS2 games during that generation. And in the end, I solely, like, I played that for probably about 5 years, those 2 game consoles, and I just began missing Nintendo. Like, as bad as it sounds, like, I was like, I miss just easy content, like family friendly, easy to kind of consume. I don't need blood and guts everywhere. I don't need this. And I just found like it sounds bad, but the first party exclusives that I was solely missing. Yeah. So I was like, let's go back. And that was right kind of, well, I shouldn't, that was 2002, but about that time the Wii was coming into fruition. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, oh, well, let's go back and play the Nintendo thing. Let's see what they've been doing for the last last generation. And it kind of rehooked me in, and again, it was just easy for me and my wife to play together, which we love. So
nice. And see, with me, my child is only 2 years old, so you bring another aspect to that. How old are your kids?
So my youngest daughter is 5. My oldest is 7.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So you can play games with your kids, as you said. What's your favorite? Is it the older games? I know on your podcast you talk about Yoshi's Woolly World, which is just the perfect game. Was that that might have been Zach? That was you or Zach?
That was both of us. Yeah, we both got copies of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So what? Yeah. Let me just ask you, what games do you like? Multiple. Well, what games do you like to play with your kids?
Sure. Yeah, I think for the kids, some of the things, for right now, it's definitely Yoshi's Woolly World. That's a definite. I really tried to get my kids in playing like some of the old school Mario. They would sit through it for like about one or two levels, and they're like, "Nah, I'm done for now. Thank you."
Oh man.
So I was like, "Okay, we'll come back to this idea. Like, we'll come back to it. Like, it's gonna be slowly getting into this idea." But yeah, Yoshi. Both my daughters really love Splatoon. I think it's because of the colors for sure. The games that we really enjoy with them is actually like the Wii Party and the Mario Party series, because some of it doesn't really require skill. And I think they really enjoy that, right? And I think it becomes a little bit more family friendly to get into it with them. I'm trying to think what other ones we enjoy playing together. What was the other one I had on the tip of my tongue? Mario Kart. They enjoy playing Mario Kart because again, that's a great example of you just putting the wheel in front of them and they just do that kind of motion.
Yep.
That's perfect stuff for them, right? So nothing overly complex. My youngest, we were playing Smash Brothers with for a while. But she's an angry little gamer, so I've got to figure that out. I don't know what's going on there, but she was quite vicious. But I'm hoping to, and even something like Mario Maker. Yesterday I set my youngest up with Mario Maker, and I said, what Mario frame do you want? Right, original 3 world or the Wii version. Set her up with the first one, and I said, you make whatever level you want, and I'll come back. And she made a level. And came back and played it together, and it was kind of that creative aspect of it, right? But she enjoys that, so she's getting a little bit more into some of the Mario games for sure. But it's a slow burn with those guys.
Yeah, that's my favorite game, Mario Maker, and I've always thought that Mario Maker would be the best game to do with kids because it's fun to play Mario Maker with somebody and like build a course together with somebody too. Like, what should we put here? I always like to ask my girlfriend or whoever around, and they like to sit with me and just like, what should I put here? Should we do this? Should we do this? And then another thing I've done is, like I said, she's only 2, my daughter, but I tried to make a level where she just had to press right.
Nice.
The joystick to the right and go. And I almost got her. I got her to do a little bit, but she didn't get to the goalpost because she'll just stop playing. She likes to record her voice and hear it back. It's her favorite.
Nice.
Thing to do, so.
Yeah. Well, we did that with 1-1 because they kind of give you a flat palette, right?
Yeah.
So what we did with my youngest with 1-1 is we kind of stripped a lot of the hard parts out of it, right? So we took away any areas for her to essentially die, and so then she finished it. So then I took it back, rebuilt the level, put a couple bad guys in it. She finished it, right? Mm-hmm. So we used 1-1 as a template, and then kind of either simplified or overlaid new challenges to one-up those skills. So it created familiarity and a learning process that by the end of it, like we were adding more enemies into the 1-1 area, making it a little bit more difficult, and she was still being able to successfully complete it, right? So Mario Maker is such a very interesting tool that way because it is such a great interface to allow for children to learn in a way that we probably haven't. When you and I played video games for the first time, no one was showing us like, you basically picked the controller and you had to figure it out, right? You had to figure out, and how many times you died by that stupid Goomba at the very beginning of it, right? Until you learned that you have to jump on it, right? Or jump over it. Yeah. Which is why game design, especially that, Miyamoto mentioned, with the game design for Mario 1-1 is so critical to how you play the rest of the game because it teaches you fundamental basics. I.e., if you do not jump over or on Goomba, you will die. Right? Yeah. If you find these blocks with the question on it, they will have something in it potentially, right? So there's a lot of early game mechanics in that teaches you a lot.
Yeah, it really shows the genius of Mr. Miyamoto with that.
Oh yeah.
And so what lost where I was at? Sorry. What was your first game system as a kid?
Yeah, my first game system was an NES, the old school NES, and I remember I really, really wanted one, and my mom said that if I really, really wanted one, she would pay half, but I had to save up the other half of it. And I remember spending like 6 months, every single chore that I could do, like my grandparents or anyone. I was like, you want me to clean the dishes for 25 cents? I'll do that. And I saved up all that, and I remember taking the drive to Calgary and picking it up. And the boxes, probably I was about 8 years old, but at that time it was probably almost 3/4 of how tall I was. And this kind of, just wrapping my arms around this thing. And I just loved it. Like we set it up and just played it forever. Like it's it's such an interesting experience. Like I remember, I was thinking about it, prior to coming onto this. Like some of my fondest memories are tied to video gaming, and I think that's one of the things that draws the idea of where we came through for Nintendo Dads as well. But I remember sitting probably a foot away from my TV screen and not blinking, sitting there playing the old school Mario or Duck Hunt and those kind of things that just kind of become ingrained with you, right? So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I had the first NES too. It's still one of my favorite systems. What's your favorite Nintendo game of all time?
Oh,
that's a hard one.
That's a hard one. Of all time, I would probably say Super Mario 3 is probably my favorite of all time, and I think that there's Super Mario 3 not only just from a gameplay perspective, but it was punching. It felt like it was punching above its weight for the NES system. Super Mario 3 also introduced a lot of core concept ideas that are now very much kind of the template Mario process, right? And I think you also had some of the best power suits there as well. So you had the Tanuki suit, you had the frog suit, you had the what am I missing? The hammer suit.
The hammer suit.
Hammer suit, and then there was a stone one.
Tanuki suit.
Tanuki suit, yeah. So I think that those kind of those functions, and then you get some introductions of like the Koopas, right? The Koopa Juniors were the first time they were introduced, which was like that's incredible. You had the overview map, which was the very first time it was introduced, and then I think also, and I know that you and I have had conversations about this through your GamingDocs channel as well. But the introduction of like they did such an amazing job promoting that through the game through the Wizard, right? Like that was the first time that you'd kind of seen it. But I mean, I remember that was probably. It's probably my absolute favorite game growing up, and we've still got a copy of it here at the house actually as well. We have an old school NES still hooked up here, but it's just, I think probably every virtual console that has been available to me, I have purchased it on there. I don't really know why, but I feel compelled to. Like, oh, it's there. Here, Nintendo, have my $5 again. I probably own like 7 copies of that thing.
I do the same thing, and then it ends up where I'd rather go and play it on my actual NES. I don't know why.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like, what is wrong with me?
Yeah, I play it on the Wii U, then I'm like, I like actually holding the NES controller. But have you ever seen have you actually seen the movie The Wizard?
I did. I saw it back in the early 90s. I remember the Power Glove, right? He busts out the Power Glove and all that kind of stuff, and it was Fred Savage in that as well too. So it's a classic, but it is such. I mean, looking at it now, you realize how much marketing that game that is a 90-minute movie for a video game and for a video game company. So.
Yeah, my thing on the Wizard, I've seen a lot of Nintendo documentaries because I'm into documentaries in general, not just video game ones. But I've seen a lot of people talk, a lot of podcasts, I've read a lot of books about it, and I never saw the Wizard. I was too young at the time to see that, but or I just don't remember. What was I gonna say? So yeah, my problem with the Wizard is everybody made it sound like it was just a bad game or a bad movie, and that it was solely a commercial. But I watched it for the GamingDocs episode that we did, and I wanted to watch it before I said what other people have said, and that's why I didn't want to really rip it apart in my my GamingDocs thing, because I thought it was a great movie. Did you like it? Because I loved it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I really loved it as a kid, and it just like after watching it, like I want to go play Super Mario, right? And I think Mario 3. I think the interesting thing about that is like that cheat for what I can't remember what level it is. They show where he cheats, right? He flies over.
It's where he gets the flute.
Yeah, the flute.
Yeah. I think that's like 1-4.
Yeah, and it's
somebody might hear this.
Spoiler alert! 1-4, go the flute. But as I recall, like the game hadn't even dropped yet, so that was like that. I mean, that was where you were getting like your insider hint information. It's like my brother went and saw the Wizard, and then he came home and he showed me level 1-4. And you're like, no, you're a liar. Like, no, it's not true.
Yeah, that's how.
And then
things
sure
were
enough,
done. That's how things were done.
Between that and Nintendo Power magazine, I had a subscription to Nintendo Power. When I was I shouldn't say ever since I had my Nintendo, but like when I had my Nintendo, I probably had it. Yeah. This sounds like this is why I never had dates when I was a kid growing up. Like I had no girlfriends basically. But I got a Nintendo Power subscription until I was like 13 or 14 years old. Like that was like, yeah, these are amazing things. They had a great hints in it as well. But
Yeah.
yeah, the wizard is and the wizard is so interesting because that was when I mean, on the fringe of the wizard, or on the edge of the wizard as it was coming out, was then the Super Mario movie
Yeah.
with John Leguizamo and Anthony Hopkins, which was like the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, it was.
Like that's horrible.
Yeah, I saw that as a kid, and so I guess I was old enough to maybe see the wizard, but I guess I just didn't know about it. We were like poor, so no.
That's fair.
But I did see that as a kid, the Mario movie, and I remember liking it, but I tried to watch it again as like research, and I couldn't. It was
Yeah, yeah. Like at that age as a kid, you're like, oh my gosh, it's Mario and Luigi, right? And then you're kind of like, when you're 20 something looking back, you're like, that was the like, why would you do that?
exactly.
So,
And then
yeah.
knowing the backstory about it, if anybody doesn't know the backstory, it's if you hear it,
It's horrific.
Crazy. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
go into it because we don't have time, but it's
Yeah,
it's
no,
a
absolutely.
crazy backstory. I did want to ask you about a quick question.
Mhm.
Your NES, did you have a Rob the Robot?
I did not have Rob the Robot.
Okay.
No, I had the package I had was the one with the gun, duck hunt, and 2 controllers. I did not have Rob the Robot. Was relatively, I didn't say relatively new to me, but I've never understood the like. People who love Rob.
Yeah.
Right? Like they have the original Rob the Robot. I know good friend of the show Rogers Base has like Rob the Robot.
Yeah.
And he was super passionate about it. I was like, I'm like, what did Rob really do? Like I don't really get it, but people are pretty passionate about it.
And you can't find any documentary. It just says it sorta, or like I remember, and I forget what the name of the book was, but it pretty much said it didn't do really anything. So yeah, I didn't have one. My brother, I was too young to actually like get an NES, I was too young to remember getting it. But I have older brothers, so since I was born, I've just known about it. It's been there, I'm looking at it right now behind.
Oh, did you? Nice.
Reminiscing. No. So yeah, it was just there, and I guess when he got it, they didn't get the package that came with it. So I've never seen one. I've seen one on TV and stuff, but.
Well, and I wonder if, because one of the things that Nintendo did, so this is after the market crash in '85. We're not going to blame that solely on Atari and the ET game, folks. Not just ET. There's a lot of other culprits, but ET is like the one that everyone burns for that.
And there's a documentary on that, and it makes me feel really bad about that.
I know, right? I saw it on Netflix as well. It was pretty. If you haven't checked that out, you have to.
Yeah.
So what Nintendo did, which was very interesting, was when they came back when they were kind of moving themselves in the 80s, and because everyone was so timid about video games again, right? Nintendo positioned themselves as a toy maker, right? And I think that's where Rob the Robot came into play. Is it became a toy, right? In your game, in your at home gaming thing, this toy, there was also this kind of action figure robot, right? And I think that helped position them into where they got placed in the stores. So it wasn't a video game console, it was a toy console more than anything else. So that's kind of how Nintendo made some of their inroads in that helped solidify and then grow them. Then obviously eventually they were identified as like a true genuine gaming console, which I shouldn't say was a true gaming console, but they kind of created that credibility enough that they were then moved into the electronics department where you'd find them normally, right?
Yeah,
so
and you didn't need Rob anymore at that point.
No, and I think that's how they got rid of him as well.
Yeah.
So
that's you're probably right on about that. And and at that time too, they had rows and rows of video game systems, so it was a very smart move by Nintendo to do that. And the weird thing is that they were a toy company to begin with, and that is what is saving them now, and that's Amiibos. My awesome segues.
Nice.
I think I know the answer to this, but do you collect Amiibos, and how many do you have? Or estimate,
sure,
because I don't know I have a lot, so I couldn't tell you how many exactly I have, but.
So I do have an Amiibo, and I would probably guess that I have somewhere around, kind of do a quick mental count here, probably around 15 Amiibo. So
you were breaking up a
now
little
I haven't
bit,
collected, I haven't counted those as my Amiibo cards for Animal Crossing Happy Home Design. Just the statues, probably about 15 to 18, somewhere in there. Oh, sorry. Yeah, 50. I'd say.
Sorry, it's
okay.
It's all going crazy. So I think it caught up now. Okay, because I said that a while ago, and then you just got it.
Oh, okay, got it.
But I think we're good. So all right. So
Okay.
yeah. So you said you have about 15.
15. I'm not counting any of the like Animal Crossing card amiibos.
Okay.
Just the statues, probably about 15.
Okay.
Do I collect them? I kind of do. Like, I'm not as obsessed as Zach. Where like Zach is almost a completionist. I am more along the lines of I collect the ones that I find interesting and want. But I definitely have an amiibo collection. And I guess it's probably a bit of a problem because I'm already like outlooking the ones I'm wanting coming up.
Mm-hmm.
So
What's that?
yeah, it is interesting.
Which one are you most excited for?
Shovel Knight.
Me too.
That Shovel Knight amiibo, which we just got a release date of January 8th. If you're unaware, yeah, Yacht Club announced that on Thursday. Thursday they announced that just before the Game Awards. I think that's the one I'm the most excited about. I am excited to see what Nintendo decides to do with Amiibo. And it was very interesting. The current president, Kimishima, I always say his name incorrectly. I'm horrible with names. Recently said in a interview that the biggest challenge that they have to have with Amiibo, or they're having with Amiibo, is not stock anymore, but rather making a case for them to be more functional. Yeah. He said that most people are just collecting them so that they're not being as functionally used, right? And I think that's where something like Skylanders and Disney Infinity have really made a solid case for, right? Like, you need to collect these things, and even the Legos Dimensions, you need to use them, and they've made a case for it. Whereas Amiibo, there's some DLC kind of behind every once in a while. Like, I think of like the Captain Toad Amiibo. I bought that because his Toad. Mm-hmm. But like, what does he really do? He unlocks a little bit of a hide and seek in Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. Is that enough? Like, is that really enough to draw me?
The sad thing is that's some of the best functionality you're out there. I mean, it's I would rather that than just a suit, but it's still, we need more than just either one, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know if they've done a really like, I can't think of, out of all the games I've played, who has the best cause for Amiibo. Like, what game is like, that's why it's there.
Yeah. Yoshi's Woolly World really helps you when you use the actual stuffed yarn. It's really cool. I love the suits. I'm not bashing, like Mario Maker, just suits are awesome, but I love how it changes Yoshi. But I would say the time I actually need it and use it is Yoshi's Woolly World. As I like to add my little guy with me to help me. I'll throw him at something.
Yeah.
I mean, what would you say? I mean,
I was originally going to think Splatoon, but I don't really know if Splatoon made a valid enough case for it, because it just felt like DLC behind a paywall, essentially, right? And I don't know if that's a good enough reason.
I thought it was cool.
Yeah, to be honest, a lot, and I mean, I guess here's the example of it. A lot of my Amiibo are sitting on shelves around my house.
Yeah.
So I'm not and I don't be like, oh, I'm gonna go play a game, run, go find said Amiibo and come back. I'm like, I probably don't need it, right? And if I do, I'll unlock the suit for whatever it is, and moving forward, right? Like, my kids and I sat down when Mario Maker came out, and okay, well, let's tap all of these on here. Mm-hmm. Okay, they're there now. Put them back on the shelf, because that's what they're there for, I guess. But yeah, Yoshi's Woolly World is probably the closest, I think, to an actually valid case. Nintendo does need in 2016 to start finding more valid cases. The challenge I have with Nintendo, and as it relates to Meebo, is they know they're making bank out of it. Like, they are like, for whatever lack of success the Wii is having, it is being right now carried off of the sales of Amiibo. Yeah. Which is great for them, right? They're going back to their toy roots. But I even think like the Link Wolf Amiibo that's coming out for the Twilight Princess. Reggie said, hey, and by the way, it's going to have functionality in Legend of Zelda Wii U. Well, okay, what functionality is that? Tell me more. And are you just bundling plastic for the sake of bundling plastic? That's one of the challenges I kind of have with it. And I also get challenged because it ups the price of any packaged game, right?
Yeah.
So currently it costs $60 or $65 in Canada for a game. You then throw an Amiibo, depending if it's a special Amiibo, different cost. The game's now running me $90, right? Like, that's pretty high, right? And does that make a valid enough case to be purchasing it, right? And I don't really agree with their strategy of bundling, the 8-bit retro ones together with the or the Mii Fighters. I actually, for the retro one, I I found the Duck Hunt dog, which I really wanted because I love Duck Hunt because I grew up on the old NES. I found him off of on eBay, like a Japanese import for $18 as opposed to the $15 I'd pay here. Okay, I'll just do that instead.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think I said on the podcast time I was on, I was okay with that 3-pack, but I can understand where you're coming from. But I really wanted every single one of those. So
oh, did you?
That was actually a time where I was like, a 3-pack, but like the Animal Crossing 3-pack, I hate. I don't know why they did that, but
yeah, and that's my concern. Like, even if you look at the Animal Crossing game, the fact that you bundle in 2 amiibos with a game, and you have to have those amiibos to play the game. That's where I have a challenge with it. Like Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival. When you think about Nintendo Dads, my kids liking the Wii Party or the Mario Party games, that's a fantastic game that we really probably should have picked up to review. But fundamentally, I have a huge issue with when Nintendo says, you already have 15 or 16 amiibos. Oh, sorry, you have to get these other 2 to play this game. I have a bit of an issue with that kind of irks me a little bit. And then having a family of 4, then I have to buy 2 more. So I'm not leaving EB Games, which is the Canadian version of GameStop, without paying $125 for my family to play. When I'm like, you're trying to shovel more plastic at me than you are game.
Yeah.
And I don't think your game's making a valid case to do it.
Yeah, we actually have an article up on our website, Nintendo Nuggets, about that interview you were talking about with Kimishima.
Yep.
And and I think that's exactly what he was talking about, so hopefully, like you said, they figure out something, because I've been hoping that whenever they announce something, what I'm hoping for a lot of things. A new Mario, obviously, because that's my favorite game. Always want to see Zelda Wii U, but nobody really ever talks about it. I'm always open for a game that we can use our amiibo in, like a Skylanders, but Nintendo's really good at coming up with something totally new, or taking something and making it 10 times better. So yeah, I hope that they do that someday, and a really cool amiibo game.
They need like an open sandbox amiibo game. Very much mirroring, that's Disney Infinity, right? That's the open sandbox. Yeah. They need something like that to mirror it. They need to make that cause, and they also need to make that game basically free. Is what they need to do, because I think that you've got the fan base, and unfortunately, like Amiibo Tap was kind of like what they were trying to do with that, where tap your Amiibo and you could play a game for 3 minutes. I'm like, no, you're just that's a gateway drug, is what that is, into buying an 8-bit old school Zelda game. But speaking of and sorry, this is derailing you or me and you, but the Kimishima or the interview, did you see him drop the statement that Galaxy 3?
Yeah. I put that in an article, and nobody else has that in their article about that. I actually heard it from NVC, and because I couldn't get the transcript anywhere, I could only get a summarized, because it was on Time.com, Time magazine, and so I don't know how they got it, but obviously I know. Well, they're a lot bigger than me, but I couldn't get the actual transcript, so I'm glad they talked about it, because nobody else covered that story. So yeah, we actually have that in the article. I'm not a big fan of the Galaxy series. It's not. I'm such a big Mario fan. I would rather like a 64 like game. But
yes. So you liked 3D World then, yeah?
Oh yeah, 3D World was all. 3D World took something, and not a lot of people say this, and I know it's true, but I haven't heard anybody say it. It's just they took something from every other Mario game ever made, and it's in the game. And not a lot of people even notice that. And I've heard people criticize it, and they're not understanding that the people that are criticizing it wanted a Galaxy, I think, or a really big open. But what it was a 3D Mario, and they took the little things, the flagpole. There's a million little things that you can find something from each Mario that was only in that Mario that is in this game, all the way down to the Tanuki suit, because that's only in Mario 3. So
I actually 100% agree with you. Like, that is a game I remember playing it and stopping. Like, when I play, usually, especially Galaxy or 3D World, my wife and I play together. And I stopped. I was like, "Oh my God, did you see that?" And she's like, "What?" I'm like, "They're paying homage to the original Super Mario right there."
Yeah.
Or, by the way, that's 3. That's, and that's what Nintendo does so well, right? Is they can play, tip of the hat or homage or pay tribute to their past while nicely pulling at the nostalgia strings of the rest of us. And you're absolutely right. 3D World does that in just an impeccable way. And that's why, really, Super Mario Maker is such a tremendous hit for them, is because it plays at all of those nostalgia levels that you enjoy as a gamer, and that brings you fond memories, but allows you to be creative and have your own as well.
Yeah.
Nintendo's IPs, I think, are strongest to do that.
Yeah, definitely. I had something I wanted to add on that, and
Sure.
it slipped my mind. So
That's okay. We were talking about Amiibo. I apologize.
yeah, no, it was about the Mario thing, but
Okay.
I can't even remember it. It was about oh, I know what it was. Have you
Yeah.
beaten the last level of 3D World? Because that is the hardest level I've ever played in a Mario game, hands down.
I have not. I am probably about 80% done the game, and I got distracted by something else shiny that came up. But I mean,
Yeah.
it's a game that I just love.
Yeah.
And it's funny, like I've talked about this when I talked about like a Link to the Past, or sorry, Link Between Two Worlds,
Love that game.
is that there are games that we have a really bad tendency, I think, I don't know if it's just North America, just consumers of games overall, to like scarf down our games, right? And we feel really full, indigested, and we feel sick. But I think there are games that come up that sometimes you just want to like slowly consume, like a really good dinner.
Oh yeah.
Because you want to appreciate every nuance of it. And 3D World for me is one of those games, and so is A Link Between Worlds. Because I know that when I'm done that, it's done. Like and it's going to be like a game I'm going to put on my shelf. And I'm like, that's a game. And when the kids are ready, they're going to go back to the game and they're going to love it. But for right now, that's it. So sometimes when I play my games, I play them kind of in that methodical, like, I really want to fill my Mario bucket right now. So I'm going to go back and play another 10% of that game or whatever it is, and feel I've got that fullness for now, and then come back to it, because I think that there are games like that, and we're all guilty of it, right? Like, I was talking to Zach and Jesse this weekend, and Jesse like loves Picross, and I think he's spent like tons of time this weekend on Picross, to a point where I think he's almost done the game or getting pretty close to it. And I'm like you just consume that entire thing, like. I don't want to say like enjoy it a bit, but like,
Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah. That's funny
But
you
I think-
said that, because sorry to interrupt you. You can
It's okay.
keep going.
I think sometimes, and I think especially when we kind of work in this idea of reviewing games, right, and giving reviews of what the latest thing is, what the hottest thing is. Sometimes we, as our own being, sometimes we have to take the hat off of being a game reviewer or game entertainer, whatever you want to call ourselves, and just being a consumer of content. And I think when we do that, we can enjoy something better, right? But like we're kind of like, okay, I got a review code on Thursday. I have to review it by Wednesday. I have to consume a lot of a game. You kind of become this like fast food of gaming.
Yeah.
And you just want a really good, I don't want to give a review to this game, because I'm soaking in it. And when I'm done with it, I'm done with it, right? So
Yeah. It's funny that you were saying that, because 3D World, I just loved it so much. I rushed through it.
Yeah.
And I got 99%. I've beaten every level with everyone except that last level. So
Nice.
I wish I did. Because I don't ever go back to it, because I played so much of it. I will go back to it again eventually. But yeah. So we're about done. You said Calgary. I did want to say this is a non-video game question. So
Sure.
you live by Calgary?
Yeah, pretty close. So we live. Lethbridge is 2 hours south of Calgary.
Okay.
And I grew up in a little town called Cochrane, which is about 30 minutes west of Calgary. So I've been in the Calgary area a lot. That's actually where both my wife and my current family kind of reside, are all in that Calgary area as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm an old school professional wrestling fan. Have you ever heard of the Hart Family?
Oh, of course. In Calgary, Bret the Hitman Hart, Owen Hart,
Rest in peace.
Yeah, Owen Hart, absolutely, right? So if you're kind of in the Calgary area, you have to be a fan of the Hart family.
Awesome. That's cool to hear.
It's huge, right? And the Calgary Hitmen, which is the WHL team they have here, is called the Hitmen, and it's based off of the Hart family.
Really? Bret the Hitman
Yep.
Hart. I did not know that. They always said growing up in the 90s that he was like a god there and stuff like that. But, I thought maybe they were just trying to build him up. But yeah.
No, he really was, and I've met him, I think, once or twice.
Really?
Just kind of like he's at conferences and stuff. You kind of like say, hey, how's it going? And super, like, just a really friendly, nice guy, right?
Yeah.
And he recognizes that, like, he has a lot of success obviously because of who he is, but that Calgary helped him do that as well. And it's absolutely massive.
Yeah, he loves Canada. I remember him always talking about Canada, and he actually had a stint where it was Canada versus America.
Yeah.
I don't know if you were a wrestling fan in the 90s.
Absolutely. The screw job, so to say, that Shawn Michaels and Vince McMahon gave him.
Funny that you say that. And that was a shoot. In wrestling terms, a shoot is like a real thing.
Yeah.
Funny that you said that. My favorite wrestler of all time is Shawn Michaels.
Oh, really?
So I actually grew up hating Bret Hart. Now, I've always loved Owen Hart. I thought Owen was a very underrated wrestler, and it's sad what happened to him. But yeah, so I actually just met Shawn Michaels a year ago, and growing up, I was obsessed. So I actually got teary-eyed when I met Shawn Michaels. I've never met Bret, but I would love to meet Bret. They've made up since, if anybody listens to this. So yeah, that's cool though.
Yeah, no, I watched a lot of wrestling in the late mid to late 90s. The whole WCW and what else was it? It was was it ECW?
Yeah,
ECW, WCW.
Yeah.
I was a fan of Goldberg's for a little bit of time when he was going.
Not a big
and obviously
fan.
and then the Rock, obviously.
Yeah.
But I used to play, going back to that Sony PlayStation, and the old NES. We used to play the wrestling games that were on there as well.
Yeah,
so they're great.
The Super Nintendo had some of the best wrestling games on it.
They did. Yeah.
Yeah, when you said Calgary, I was like, I gotta ask him about the
No,
Hart
absolutely.
family to see if he knows them.
Yep.
Well, on that note, I guess we'll wrap it up. Thank you for doing this. You're my first interview for
awesome. I love it.
Nuggets. I appreciate all that you've done, helping me out. If you liked listening to him in this podcast, there's also, I'm going to have a transcript for it. I'm probably going to post up the video hopefully tonight or tomorrow, and I'm going to work on writing a little article about the interview to also post on the website, and it's going to be at NintendoNuggets.com. I guess you're going to be on Nintendo Nuggets if you're listening to this. So yeah. So come back to NintendoNuggets.com, and if you like hearing my friend Justin, you can hear him you can hear him on GamingDocs.
Absolutely.
YouTube GamingDocs. He does voiceovers for that awesome retrospective. If you like hearing history about video games, right now there's a series about Super Mario. And if you really like listening to him, which I like listening to him, you can listen to him every Wednesday night on Nintendo Dads. And how do you get to Nintendo Dads? Do you just Google it?
Yeah, you can just Google it. You can find us on iTunes and Stitcher. It's just Nintendo Dads. Same with Twitter and Facebook, all those kind of things. Yeah, just Nintendo Dads. And we typically are YouTube. We have a YouTube channel as well. You can find us at Nintendo Dads. And typically right before we go out live, we push a link out on Twitter that you can follow us and click right there and follow us live as well.
Cool. And what's your Twitter handle? Sorry.
Sir, for the show, it's at Nintendo Dads. And then for my personal one, it's at Masson23.
Cool. At Masson23. That's Masson.
Yeah, 23. You got it.
Cool. 23. All right, man. Thanks again. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Oh, I appreciate you very much. Thank you.
Cool.